Late for dinner. So is the camera running now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're here with Chef Jafar, aka Coach Jafar, aka Deacon Jafar.
Yes.
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so we're not gonna waste any time today. What part of Atlanta you from?
I was born on the west side at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, but we lived until I was about 4 years old in John Hope Homes, the project off Northside Drive on the west side. Growing up, my first elementary school was Rockdale Elementary, Perry Boulevard. As I said, I moved to Perry home when I was 4 years old, so when I started grade school, as you call it, back then, I don't really believe we had any pre-Ks or stuff like that. We had grandmama and auntie babysitters for kids who weren't able to go to school yet. But I went to Rockdale Elementary, transferred there from Clara Maxwell Pitts Elementary School. And after that, there was no middle school at that time. You went from the 7th grade to the 8th grade, which was high school. In the high school I first attended was Archer High on Perry Boulevard as well. I played football, basketball, not much baseball when I was in Atlanta. I had the good fortune of entering a program called ABC, which stood for A Better Chance. The Ford Foundation was the philanthropist behind it, and I got a chance to go off to prep school in Lenox, Massachusetts, a school called Windsor Mountain Prep. Techwood was a unique apartment housing, public housing, I'm trying to say, because it was close to Georgia Tech. So you had the influx of people from other places other than Atlanta in that same area, right off the campus, on the campus, what have you. So it added a different element to public housing than, say, John Hope Home, Grady Home, Herndon Home, Egan Homes, to name few of the public housing apartment complexes we had in the city at that time. All the fights, the wars that went on, little turf wars. We really didn't have gangs per se back then. More so, it was like cliques, street territorial type things. And Little Vietnam was the place where all the hell went on over the weekend. You know, people getting drunk. You know, perhaps we didn't have as many shootings back then. It was generally stabbings or fights of that nature. Yeah, but no basic peace was there. Everybody there was, and I hate to make a full-blown statement like that, but everybody there raised hell, man. Thus Vietnam, because it was always like a war zone. Yeah. It kind of it organized Black authority in the city. You know, it gave us a voice. I mean, I'm proud to say that this was the hotbed of the movement. Most of the icons that came out of the movement were either from Atlanta, Birmingham, or somewhere in the South, with the exception maybe of Jesse Jackson, who's from Chicago, we all know. But Lafayette, Hosea Williams, Allie Pat even, who was a local disc jockey that got a lot of our messages out on the airwaves at that time. And Allie Pat was in Atlanta. You know, they called him the garbage mouth of the South. He was the kind of the voice of Atlanta in terms of broadcasting at that time. We had Larry Tinsley, just to name somebody, some old people that I personally knew. I worked in Andrew Young's campaign for Congress as a volunteer sign holder on the street, you know, canvassing, vote for Andrew Young. One of the most things I remember that was fun about the campaign, because at that time we really wasn't politically savvy per se. We just knew that there was some Black people doing some stuff, and we wanted to be a part of it because their campaigns we felt and knew were going to help the plight of us in this city. and I'm proud to say that I had some activity working in this campaign. They used to have these trucks that rolled through all these public housing complexes that we spoke of earlier. They had vans on the back of these big old open body trucks. The Wallace Brothers were a local band from Atlanta, and they would participate, and they'll go around and play James Brown tunes and Otis Redding and Wilson Pickett songs, and they'll raise attention to get people to come out and vote. And the bands were a big part of that. Archie High used to march through the streets of Perry Home, especially, and get people to come out and rally behind our black candidates. What do I love most about Atlanta? What don't I love? This is my home. This is my town. This is where I got my start. Atlanta to me was and always will be a haven for people that you can kind of trust. The time that I grew up, neighborhoods weren't so dangerous, and neighborhoods weren't so violent. Neighborhoods wasn't inundated with drugs. Neighborhoods were neighborhoods, and if you played football or anything like that, you would meet somebody that went to Turner, and you meet somebody that went to Price. And pretty much if you knew somebody that lived in those neighborhoods that played for those teams, you could safely go there and date somebody. They didn't like you coming to the school trying to pick up girls. We didn't play that. That was a no-no. But if you met a girl at then what was the hot spot, Maddox Park, that's kind of where all the little school, West Fulton Owls used to be there, Archer High Eagles, the Burners from Turner. We all got there on Saturdays, and we would, they had this big old room, and they had this jukebox, and they would play music. We used to dance, slow drag, and all that kind of stuff, and swim, because it was actually a swimming pool park called Maddox Park on Bankhead Highway, which is now Dunley Hollywood. Yeah, Dominique Wilkins?
Yes.
Yes.
How was it?
It was nice. It was upscale for that time in Atlanta. It was a place to be. Dominique's Club, Mr. V's, Cisco's, Marco's, Wild Cherry, Lamar's Regal Room. Those were the kind of the hot spots that black people frequent. Now you had clubs downtown like Sans Souci, the Cheetah, but they were like basically our counterparts. Black people did go there, but primarily white people were there. But if you wanted the real club black experience, you were on Camilton Road, like that. So the West Side, Cascade didn't really have many clubs, but there were a lot of what we used to call speakeasies or drink houses, shout houses. People, we sometimes had clubs in our house where people would just mack out their house like a club. But the social life has always been kind of easy here. People are friendly. Women are beautiful. Atlanta's dope, man. It's a nice time. I remember this lady who owned a florist shop was one of the casualties of that. I think 2, maybe 3 people died from that explosion. I remember how deceptive it was, how the guy who they went back and got some kind of video of him going in and leaving the bag that the bomb was in. It tried the city. It really tried the city because Maynard Jackson, who was mayor then, and what's this guy one of his white associates, I can't remember his name. I see his face in my mind right now, but I guess we could research that to get the right name for him. But he had this coalition that lobbied for it, and I remember real vividly the scene at the airport when they came back from the negotiations. They had a press conference at Atlanta Airport, and we were waiting for the outcome. And I remember when they said the 1996 Olympic Games has been awarded to and the guy in his Spanish broken English said, "The city of Valletta." And Maynard Jackson waved his hand through his hair like that. And this other guy, I can't remember his name right now, said, "Yes." I never will forget that. Yeah, that was a big doings for Atlanta back then. I remember Muhammad Ali lighting the torch, and he was just discovered pretty much with Parkinson's disease, but he wanted to do it anyway. His hand was shaking. That was just so powerful. Yeah, I remember that real distinctly. I remember it was 19 kids that were abducted. Some weren't kids, some were teenagers, and remember it well. But some of the details are sketchy now because usually when you have things like that, a scar like that, you try to cover them up, mask them, and bury them deep. About maybe 6 months ago, I watched it again on documentaries on cable. And in some ways, it tore the city apart because we were confused. We didn't know what was going on. It got to the point where we didn't trust the police to handle it. And to this day, to my knowledge, there's still no real closure about it. Wayne Williams got involved, and once that happened, they kind of pinned a couple of the murders on him, but there's still about 15, 16, 17 unsolved. And they're not tied necessarily to him, but the body that they say he threw over the bridge kind of was his undoing because, he was there during that time, they say. They had forensic evidence from a carpet, from his bedroom with green fibers. And you have to bear in mind that this was the spearhead, the tip of the iceberg as far as forensic medicine was concerned, because that wasn't something that you used in court at that particular time. And I don't know how much involvement he really has. I'm not an investigator, so I can't say. But the feeling that I have is that some part he was used as a scapegoat just to bury those cases. And in another part, I think there should have been an investigation further to talk about the other bodies, the other people. And it was tragic, man. You couldn't go anywhere in the city without being stopped. If it was 2 or 3 more, especially black people in the car, you definitely were going to be stopped. When they had the curfew for the kids couldn't be out after a certain time, it really got stupid. But one of the assholes of the city, you can't go through this country, the United States, and whatever city, maybe sometimes townships you come across, there's always a darkness, an evil that raises ugly head. Even in Selma, and we got this case now in Mississippi where this guy's missing. They haven't found his body. So I don't want to say it was like par for the course, but during that time, black people were still being persecuted in a lot of salient ways. Not necessarily at the ballot box or just arresting black people, because as we all know, we were disproportionately in numbers in the penal system. But this was something that smacked of evil. It permeated of that. And one would get the idea that it was covered up because there was no consistent follow-up with the other cases. It's just like when they dubbed Wayne Williams as the killer, as the missing and murdered child killer, everything stopped. Yeah. So it was distasteful, to say the least. I just, think about it, I still kind of get upset about it. Well, I was standing on the street corner one day and saw a guy get shot, got blasted, and blood got all over me. Yeah, that was nasty. And I don't care really, but I don't know how far this will go. But I wasn't implicated in any of it and all. Matter of fact, Me and a couple other guys, we left the scene prior and during when the police were there because it was nothing for us to say. It was just senseless, man. The guy just walked up to him and blasted. I saw a bad car accident in Atlanta once that stays with me sometimes. Young lady went to the airport to pick up her boyfriend. He was home on leave from service, and they ran a red light at Herschel Road and Camp Creek Parkway. And I was the first car at the light, and this other car was trying to make a left on the arrow part, and she ran the light and T-boned the car, and I was the first one to the car. When I opened the door, the side, you know how cars are separated by two doors, that little piece of iron folded in on the guy when she hit him, and it stuck in, and he reached out like for help, and when he did that, just blood and everything. And I witnessed that, yeah, that was bad. That was real crazy. And people had looked around and asked where were the people who were in the car that struck him, and they were standing on the sideline, unscarred. They wasn't hurt at all. The girl was crying. She had face in her hand, just boo-hoo, and the guy she went to pick up from the service had his arm around her. And this was actually in College Park. We consider all that Atlanta back in those days, but the College Park police, about 2 or 3 jurisdictions showed. It was a bad accident, it really was. I think one of the greatest days that I've had in Atlanta was just recently. Like I told you, my son and I don't know if we were filming or not, but we had got kind of disconnected for a while, and I prayed about our relationship being refreshed and reborn and all of that. And it was Saturday in June, Saturday the 6th, I believe. I was getting dressed. I was to MC the fashion show that our church was doing for Men's Day. And while I was sitting on the sofa putting my shoes on, getting ready to, finish getting dressed to leave, I got a phone call. And I started not to answer it, but I did, and it was Jafar, my son. And we chopped it up and talked up. So I had the great pleasure of him coming down this just past weekend for Father's Day. We spent the whole weekend together and had fun, and it was great. So I have to say, by far, that's one of the best days. I've had other great experiences, other good things, but they don't rival that. That was like over the top. I enjoyed cooking from a young age because I was a mama's boy. I can't deny that. My mother was a great cook, seamstress, very well with her hands, smart lady, well read. I guess I get my hustle from her because, she was my partner, my buddy. I miss her terribly. We talked every day. She was my rock. So a lot of the basic things like making biscuits, pies, cakes, collard greens, stuff we grew up on, macaroni and cheese. I got all that from her. Yeah, she taught me how to do that. And when I got a little older, and it ain't no big secret, I was out hustling and stuff, and had money, a little money, so we would go out to eat a lot, and sometimes you would do that just out of habit, just hanging out, just stunting, we call it, showing off and whatever, balling, if you want to say. But the food wasn't that good to me. Atlanta's always been known of the South, I would say, known for good food, but Atlanta now is known for a lot of fine restaurants. Food rivals any other city in the nation. But at that time, you was like hit or miss to me. And I just said I could do this. So took a couple of classes at the Atlanta School of Culinary Arts, which was at the Swiss Hotel at that time. You had to go through Atlanta area technical school and sign up for a program. So I went there for a while, got a few disciplines, and a guy that I met that worked at the Lions Den at the Omni, not the Omni now, not the Phillips Arena, but the old Omni. They had a Mimi's in there and a Maxie's, and they had the Lions Den. The Lions Den was a steakhouse. Walter was his name. That's right. I just remember. He offered me a job, and I started working, doing backup prep, all that kind of stuff. And cooking is to me a good therapy, and everybody eats, so I kind of hung in there with it because you always had work. I always could to do work. Even when I went off to school, I'd deal with dabble in cooking a little bit. So it's been a passion of mine, something that I've enjoyed, and it's a good, clean hustle. Especially if you get a following. In 1999, I started Peak at Profession Catering company. I kind of got on the map because I married a girl named Kara M. Fears. She's Big Daddy's sister. He's Big Daddy. I know you heard about his restaurants all over Atlanta. So when we were getting married, I cooked the dinner for her bridesmaids. And one of them she worked for L.A. Reid and Babyface. And they enjoyed the food. And she asked me, she said, "You cook like this all the time?" I said, "Yeah." Because my plates at home are garnished. I do the little extra. I got pictures where I post on Facebook and get a lot of good reviews from that. But she said, yeah, she liked my food. So she called me one day. She said, "You want to make some money?" I said, "Sure." So I catered my first big event for Brian Reed, L.A. Reid's brother, his 35th birthday. 2-day party, man. We kicked back, and he was calling people from in the industry that were in other cities, and people were flying in. And, the rest is history, man. That Peak of Perfection was on and popping then. So I did a lot of work for Jermaine Dupri, Bone Crusher, Tony Braxton, who else, man? Dallas Austin, Frank Ski, just to name a few people that are in the business. But I've cooked for Andrew Young. I did his 90th birthday party. The video and all that is on YouTube. Shoot, man. And that's if I can say, part of my excitement when doing the documentary, because as we ride around the film, I can say, well, I did this event in that building, that event in that building, and, can document it and back it up. So I just love cooking, man, because it brings, well, let me say it like this. It brought you and I together, in a nutshell. Because when the food smells good and you got that smoke going, and everybody and their grandmama like a good barbecue, man. Whether they eat pork or not, they can put some on the grill that can satisfy them, be it chicken, lamb, steak. And this is a shameless plug, which I do have for you to come and enjoy that I do. But yeah, man, and then I was making money, so I just fell in love with it. I got into tennis when I lived in, when I first went off to school. I went to a prep school, like I told you, I went to prep school in Lenox, Massachusetts. That's when I first really started trying to hit a ball. I was about 14 years old. I was left 8th grade, Archer High, went to 9th grade, what they call it, third form in the parochial or the private school area, that's what they call it. And I picked up a racket then, and when I used to come home, during the summers, I hit around a little bit, but I really got serious about it when I got out of prep school, started going to college. And I went to Edgar College in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I attribute my real interest of getting into it to a young lady named Kathy Strickland, You know, fine young lady. She played, and I used to go watch her play, and she dared me one time that she could beat me, and she did. And I don't tell a lot of people that, but she was good. She was heads and heels above my game level at that time. But I hung in there and stuck with it. I got certified in 2001, and I've been coaching like professionally ever since. Yeah. I worked for the city of Atlanta in that capacity for about 9 years. Started out doing that with Camp Best Friend. It was a summer program the city sponsored. And met a young lady named Gail Engel, who was the director of the Southern Section Urban Tennis. We had, it was called ACTA, Atlanta Community Tennis Association, which is now USTA, period. USD came in and kind of took over. But they had offices on Spalding Drive. That's where the USTA Southern Section office is. Met a nice young man, Bill Ozaki. He was the director of, he just got inducted into the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact. Well, Bill and I were great friends, and when I was working for the city at Adams Park, Bill and the Southern Section gave us a lot of support. They, supplied us with rackets and indoor nets and, any kind of equipment we needed for the program. And I love kids. I like working with kids. So one kind of went hand in hand with each other. You got Camp Best Friend, you got these kids from the hood that need some direction. You wanted to offer them something different other than baseball, basketball, and football. And being that it was in summertime, tennis was apropos because it's an outdoor sport. All the city parks had tennis courts, so yeah, I kind of got into it that way. And I'm proud to say the team that I had out of Adams Park, we won the city 3 straight years, 5 total. But it's funny that come up because Brandon Williams and Tony Hopkins were 2 of my star players. I was looking at a picture that we got holding trophies at Washington Park when we won our first city tournament. Yeah. So it's the only sport that I know for life. A granddaddy can play with his grandson and have a marginal amount of fun, but you can't do that with basketball, football. Your knees give out, and old man can't hoop like he used to, no matter how good it was. But you can play tennis. Yeah, you can play tennis and have fun. Up close and personal, no.
Okay.
But I know that Marietta has been a viable part of the economic foundation of Atlanta. I know that the Darlings Air Force Base is there. Marietta Martin is there. So they've been a conduit for jobs, and the people that work there, their salaries have helped build another part of the middle class for blacks. I had a good friend, Doug Evans. He worked at Lockheed for many years. He's gone on to glory right now, but Harold Rashid is a good friend of mine that retired from there. So I know how viable it was or is to Atlanta as in terms of its place where it belongs in the city. It's viable. I was just kind of joking with you when I said that, and I'm not eating no cheese right now, backtracking. It's just that when you're from Atlanta, you kind of pump Atlanta, right? So I can understand people from Marietta want that same respect. Most definitely. I don't have any bad experiences with Marietta. I've come to realize, now that I live in Vinings and in that area, it's a beautiful town, it's a beautiful city, and a lot of nice parks and open space. And I know right now y'all having some issues with the government, with the mayor office. Is that true? Okay, you can go to Facebook, put in Chef Shafar or Peak at Perfection Catering, more specifically, Instagram, and 5181 every Saturday on South Cobb Drive. If you want a dynamite plate of lamb, chicken, rib, jerk chicken, hot dog for your kids or whatever, potato salad, coleslaw, macaroni and cheese, baked beans, potato salad, yams, and spinach. If any of that tingles your taste buds, come out and get you a plate. They're very reasonable. We're very hospitable, and we'd love to be able to serve you. As far as coaching is concerned, I'm the head pro at the Walden Vinings apartment townhomes, which is at 4949 Oakdale Road. I could be found there giving tennis lessons. Just shout me out. I don't mind my phone number being out there. If I can do that, you can just call me at 404-246-6620, and we'll be glad to be of service if you want tennis or if you want food. And my church is, and I should say last but not least, because God is the head of my life and my household. Every Sunday you can find me at 3646 Hogan Road in Atlanta, Georgia, at Bethlehem Baptist Church. I'm proud to say I'm a deacon there, and we rock and roll. We have a good time with the Lord on Sunday. So if you're looking for a church home, or you're just in the area and want to stop by and visit, 3646 Hogan Road, Atlanta, Georgia, Bethlehem Baptist Church, the big church, white church on the hill, where you can come and get your spiritual bread. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I can shout that out. It's coming right around the corner. We're gonna be on the Beltline, and there'll be a lot of announcements. We're gonna try to light it up to get that going on. But yeah, I appreciate this opportunity to reach out to whomever might see this, and I wish you Godspeed with love and grace and happiness in your life. Be blessed.